What's good, y'all? It's Ali back at it again with another YouTube video in which I give you guys mental models you can use to become extremely successful and accomplish all the goals you are after. So let's get right into it. So today I'm talking about long term because I want you guys to start thinking as long as you possibly can when it comes to you achieving your goals. The guys who win the biggest in life think the fucking longest. And the guys who obviously lose the most in life, they think the shortest. You want to think long. You want to think long as much as you possibly fucking can. But first, as always, let me define what I mean by long term when it comes to you achieving your goals. And essentially what I mean is connecting your current behavior with your future success. Okay. So naturally, if you want to achieve something big in your life, it's going to take big time. Big goals take big time. Big success takes big time. So you need to make sure the behaviors that you're engaging in today are directly connected to your future self or the success that you want. If you're doing shit that prioritizes you winning today, you're never going to get the big success later. That's like, nigga, it just can't work like that. It's illogical for that to happen. You need to make sure, hey, I'm doing this thing today that is going to help me win big later. But where do we always run into a problem with this? The problem is, you niggas, you will do something that does not feel good today. And you're like, well, shit, I don't want to do this thing. It doesn't make me feel good. I want to buy that car or rent that car that I can't afford today so I can flex for the hoes. I want to eat that donut today, even though I want to get in shape later, right? I want to go party. I want to go drink today. That's the fun thing to do. But the problem is those things make you feel good today, but they don't get you massive returns later. And let me even just give you guys a quick graph. Maybe this is the type of graph that you've seen before, but I want to give you guys a graph so you can kind of understand what I'm saying here. So when you think short term, this is basically what it looks like. You know, you start here and then you're like, oh, let me go eat that donut. And then you go up and you're like, oh shit, I'm a fat fuck. And then with another thing, you're like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Let me go buy that, rent that Lamborghini. You know, the hoes gonna love me. And then it's like, oh shit, now I don't have any money to learn any skills or abilities that can make me richer into the future so I can retire my family and shit. And I go, oh, let me go to that fucking party and drink all that alcohol. Oh shit, now I'm hungover. I can't study for that test. I don't feel like going to the gym. I don't want to do anything else. You know what I'm saying? And this is just how you niggas, a lot of you niggas just end up living your life. You just go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Looks fucking horrible. Stupid. You niggas don't want to do this. Okay. When you're a long-term minded man, when you're thinking about winning in the long term, what ends up happening? Let's give a graph for that. So when you think long, as I was just describing a second ago, you know, the behaviors you're going to partake in initially are not going to be fun. Like, it's going to be like, oh, this doesn't feel great. There's some pain here. Well, shit, I got to wake up early for the gym. I got to study for that test. I can't drink that alcohol. I can't eat that donut. You know what I'm saying? I can't eat any of that food. But then all of a sudden, a few months later, a few weeks later, all of a sudden you're winning. You're making more money. You're in shape. You know what I'm saying? You're getting a lot smarter. And then you just keep going and going and going. Right? I know I just went through the other graph, but bear with me here. So what happened here? It's like you didn't feel good for a while, but then all of a sudden you couldn't stop fucking winning because the behaviors you were partaking in a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago were all for the sake of your future. So it's only natural for all these good things to start happening to you. Whereas in comparison, this guy over here who keeps prioritizing the short term, he can't compete with this level of ascension. Because the thing is, when you prioritize the long term, the skills and abilities that you are getting here are just going to stack on themselves. And one of the biggest points for why I'm making this video is I want you guys to prioritize thinking long term. Because the thing is, you know what is actually crazy here? When you do this, right, you're going through all this pain and suffering because you're not making any moves that are supposed to make you feel good today. When you get this win, you're like, oh shit, that felt fucking amazing. I want to feel this shit again. So the reason why this keeps going up is because now your mind switches from prioritizing the short term, this dumbass graph, to always wanting to prioritize the long term because it always feels good to do this now. And that's essentially the reason why a lot of you guys have been struggling with becoming extremely successful, or what you really need to think about when it comes to becoming extremely successful. You want to switch your mind from a short-term base to a long-term base. But the only way you can do that right, is if you get this long-term win. And that actually brings us into the actionable step here, which is practice thinking long-term and win. Okay. Because as I always say on my channel, right, everything worth having in life must be worked for. So to gain this long-term frame, it's not like you're just going to get to have it. You know, you're not going to, if you've been thinking short-term for so fucking long, my niggas, you're not just going to wake up tomorrow and then suddenly be like, oh shit, let's go. I'm going to think long-term and all these amazing things into my future. No, you're not used to it yet. You have to earn the ability. So you have to practice thinking long-term, of course, right? And this could mean you've been used to choosing, you know, short-term gratification in the current moment so far. Like you've been used to choosing whatever's going to make you feel good today. Well, you just set a goal for like the end of your week, for example. Let's say you have a test. Let's say you're in school right now. But even if you're not in school, you've taken tests and you're like, you understand this shit, my niggas. So basically, you're like, okay, I got this test at the end of the week. So what do I need to do today to ensure I do well on this test? You know, connecting your current behavior with your future success. Well, I should probably study for 3 hours today, right? I should study for 3 hours today. So today's Monday, you study, you know what I'm saying? You get your 3 hours in, you go hard. Because, of course, too, as a disclaimer here, outside things are going to help you prioritize the long term. Of course, you need to be focused, disciplined, and consistent. I'm not saying you're just going to get to have this long-term thinking just by thinking of it and just being like, well, I know I got this test at the end of the week, so I'm just going to do the 3 hours of studying. No, of course you need to gain those abilities too. But the point of this video in particular is to show you why or how to gain long-term thinking. The point of this video is to think about how to gain the ability to always think long so you can keep winning into the future. So basically, you think about this test, right? You're like, okay, let me study for 3 hours today. You study for 3 hours today. Tuesday, study for 3 hours. Wednesday, study for 3 hours. Thursday, study for 3 hours. And then now Friday's the test, right? Okay, so you go take the test. You study this entire week. Boom, you go crazy on the fucking test. Do super fucking well on the test. You're like, oh shit, that felt amazing, right? I got that long-term win after this long bar of suffering, rather than during the week partying, going out, drinking, smoking, hopping on the game, just doing a bunch of dumb shit and then failing on the test, which is one of the bottoms here. Now you went through the suffering during the week, you know what I'm saying? You studied for 3 hours every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then boom, the test came. You got this big W, did well on the test. You're like, oh shit. So when I decided to give up this week of studying, I did well on this test. So now let me do that again. Maybe I have a test a week and 3 days from now. So now, because I'm already used to waiting a week for something, I can push myself a little bit when it comes to my long-term thinking. So now you do the studying, a week and a half passes, and then boom, you take another test, you do well. You're like, oh shit. Okay, the next test, that's 2 weeks out. You know, I can do this again because I've gotten now the positive reinforcement. Do you guys understand now? You want to get these long-term wins and start from wherever you're at. I'm not saying you guys should be thinking a year from now. Obviously, you niggas can't do that shit. Your brain, chill out. But what I am saying is that, boom, you're starting from like you start from whatever you're at right now, you know, a week ahead. And then from a week, it goes to 2 weeks. And then from 2 weeks, it goes to a month. And from a month, it goes to 3 months. And then a year, and then 2 years, right? That's what you want to get up to where your base stat is, your base mindset when it comes to approaching any goals is thinking years ahead. Because the guy who thinks the longest wins the biggest. Life is always the long game. This is why stuff like consistency and discipline or focus are so important. Because what do these three skills and abilities and habits give you? It gives you the ability to think long, to do something big in the long term. The guy who keeps prioritizing today over anything can only win his biggest today. It's like, let's say you're an archer and you have a bow. If you only pull back that bow a little bit, like just a little bit, the arrow can't really go that far, my nigga. It's just gonna go down. But the guy who's like, keeps pulling the arrow back, keeps pulling the bow back, keeps pulling the bow back, and he keeps going and going and going and going and going and going. Now this arrow is gonna fucking fly, and the tension keeps rising. And that's exactly what happens here. It's a whole lot of nothing, right? Because the tension on the bow is just going, nothing is happening clearly because the arrow's not flying. And then all of a sudden, boom, overnight success. And that's kind of the final thing I'll say here to wrap up here. This is what an overnight success looks like. This is the flexor. This is the guy who goes out and parties and drinks alcohol and does all this dumb shit, hops on the game, hangs around bum ass friends. This is him. That's that guy. But the guy who's an overnight success, it was years of him not getting any instant gratification at all, right? Whether he started with the, base training that I was just talking about earlier, where, he just worked his way up to thinking longer term by being like, okay, let me think a week ahead, then 2 weeks ahead, then 3 weeks, then a month, then a year, right? So he was doing that, doing all this training, gaining a bunch of skills and abilities because of this. And then all of a sudden, all of that work and effort and skills and abilities and discipline was building and building. Just like using the bow here, the tension was growing and growing and growing. All of a sudden, the tension's so strong, boom, it flies. All of a sudden, all your skills and abilities just accumulate. You make this one move, and then boom, you just go up. And now, because you went up like this, you got this good feeling from thinking of the long term. Now you just want to keep doing it. And this is how you win indefinitely into the future. Because with everything you do, you're prioritizing the long term because you've trained yourself into always thinking about the long term. So yeah, man, that's how I want you guys to start thinking. That's how I want you guys to start perceiving the world and your goals. You want to switch from that dumbass short-term thinking that literally gets you nothing, because if you're always thinking about winning tomorrow, you can never gain any skills and abilities or experiences that are going to lead you to something big in the future. You just can't. It's illogical. But if you get to the point where you're like, no, I want to keep thinking longer and further ahead, well, you have to practice thinking that way from wherever you're at right now, because thinking a year or 2 years ahead right now might not be real for you. Just think a week ahead, then a month, then 3 months, and then you just keep going like that. And once you get those wins, you get that positive reinforcement, right? Because the only reason why you're not able to think ahead right now is just because you have not gotten the positive reinforcement of thinking long term. So once you get that positive reinforcement, I'm telling you, there's no going back. You can only ever think further ahead, and that means you can only ever win bigger and bigger and bigger. So yeah, man, so that's the vid. So let me know how you guys feel about this shit. Do you guys really understand this? Or you're like, okay, Ali, I get you. I need to start thinking longer term. The only way I can do that is if I start from wherever I'm at. I just think a week ahead first. I get that big win. That felt great. Now I have that positive reinforcement. Now I can push things a little bit further ahead again, think a week and a half ahead. And then all of a sudden I'm at a month. And then now I'm at 6 months. And you just keep going. You know what I'm saying? Just make sure you guys start practicing this shit as soon as possible, because it can help you massively. And of course, if you understood this shit, like the damn video. Because if you understood this shit and you're a dumbass nigga, other guys could definitely come here, watch this, understand this shit, and be like, okay, bet, I'm going to be thinking about the long term of fucking course. And of course, 2, subscribe to this shit, bro. Because I make videos like this all the fucking time, so you niggas can understand and master what it takes to become a successful man, reach the peak of your power, reach the peak of your masculinity, and shit like that. So like and subscribe. You know how we fucking do it. More vids on the way. And with that being said, I will catch you boys in the next YouTube video. Deuces.